2013, I think. I got the month right. That's great. Let's begin with the pledge. Gina, you got us started, right?
Oh, honored. John, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Gina.
You're welcome.
Let's see, announcements. The Rhinecliff Fire and Rescue 5th Annual Chili Cook-Off will be Saturday, September 14th from 3 to 7 p.m. at the Fireman's Field on Valleyway Road and Loftus. Call Cynthia Bear, for more details, 876-5738. Any announcements from the board?
I have a couple of things, but I think maybe they'll go under other things.
Okay.
I'd like to give Joe Gelb a shout out, who just got back from visiting the White House,
Oh,
for being honored for his service during voter registration and the civil rights in the 50s. Was it the 50s? 60s.
60,
Yeah.
65 and 66.
you should have said 40s.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 22nd, 2013 meeting?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Okay, and now, without further ado, State Senator Terry Gibson.
Well, thank you very much. I was told to keep this microphone very close to my mouth, so I'll do the best I can. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes to stop by. As the newly elected state senator for the 41st District, I am taking some time to tour the district and do what we call a local governments tour. I'm the ranking member on the State Senate Local Governments Committee, and both in that capacity and as a former local government elected official myself, I'm very interested in hearing from our local governments and learning more about what we can do to help you. I sympathize, obviously, with your role because I've been there, I know what you're going through, and I found that experience to be quite helpful as a state senator trying to reduce the cost of living, trying to deal with our high property taxes. But we're taking time to come by and see what we can do for you. I want to let you know a couple of things. I was a part of the last state budget that was passed, and I'm sure you know this, but just in case you don't, I want to make sure that you did know that your AIM funding stayed the same, which was a tough fight. They wanted to decrease it, but we were able to keep it the same at $24,865. And your CHIPS funding, I'm sure your highway supervisor knows about that, was increased 27%. To a total, you should have be receiving $128,453. And if that's not the number you're getting, let me know. I also want to bring to your attention a couple of pieces of legislation that we're working on that you may be interested in. I think we have contacted you about some of these. One is that we have a bill in that would be a constitutional amendment that would prohibit New York State from handing down any mandate that's unfunded. I'm sure that unfunded mandates are something that you continue to deal with. It's something we dealt with when I was on the village board. It's something that I hear from all my local elected officials is that the unfunded mandates are giving you very little discretionary spending. Therefore, the tax dollars that you bring in to do the things that people expect you to do are very limited because you're constantly doing things the state's asking you to do.
Is that bipartisan, Terry?
It is.
Does it have a chance of passing?
Well, you never know. The more support that we get, the more it will have. I am asking all of the town and cities and villages in my district to, if they feel so inclined, to pass a resolution that I can take back to my colleagues and show proof that local governments support this. This is a bipartisan piece of legislation that's being sponsored by Assembly Member Kieran Lawler, who represents the southern part of my district, and we are working jointly together on this, and we do have support in both houses, and we will continue to gain more as we get more local support for it. Another bill that we're working on, which I think we contacted you about as well, is our Good Neighbor bill. I don't think in Rhinebeck this is necessarily a huge problem, but just so you know, it's happening. We do have parts of my district that have large quantities of abandoned homes that have been on the market for a long time that can't be sold, and the local municipalities are having a hard time getting the banks to take care of the property. They're not mowing the yard, they're not fixing the windows when they break, And it's a real constant problem in terms of making sure that those vacant properties don't run down the values of the surrounding properties. So to give the local government's laws a little more teeth, we're trying to get a state law passed called the Good Neighbor Bill, which would hold banks accountable for taking care of the property, and it would require that the banks supply you with the name and phone number of someone at the bank to actually speak to, which we've discovered is a big problem when you're making those phone calls. We're also working on a variety of ways to try to give senior citizens a tax break in our local communities when it comes to high property taxes. One of the bills that we introduced recently was a bill that would give local governments, like yourselves, the option, if you were so inclined, to defer the property taxes from year to year for anyone over the age of 65. It would be an per application. It's open and optional for the senior citizen to apply, and it's open and optional for the town to even participate in this. It's a year-to-year optional program. It hasn't passed yet, but we're pushing it. It's a program that's been very successful in Connecticut, and it's enabled Connecticut to retain a lot more senior citizens than we have by giving seniors an option to stay in their homes. What's happening, obviously, as you know, is that taxes continue to go up. The income of senior citizens goes down, so eventually they have to choose between moving to Florida or somewhere that's more affordable, and we don't want them to do that. We want them to stay here. So we're trying to find ways to give them options, to give local government options as well. You would get your money once the home changes hands, once the home is sold or changes hands. So it's just a matter of deferring it until you're able to access those funds. Again, it's a local option, and we'll keep you posted on that as it begins to move through the legislative process. Before you have a question about that?
So the buyer would pay the,
Yeah, it'd just be added on to the sale of the home.
Theoretically, that could add a ton of money onto the price, the sale price of a house.
It could not. It's all it's all variable depending on, it's a year to year.
this is a home rule change? It would enable us to enact this legislation, or?
It would be optional. It would be optional. It would be year to year, and it would be, based on the willingness of the applicant and your assessment of the situation to see if it's a good fit for you and whether, financially it makes sense.
It's an interesting concept. I think the ramifications are kind of intriguing because the sale price of the house could be a lot more than what it would be, which would affect comparable pricing in the market.
Well, it could be. I mean, we're talking about just 1 year's worth of property taxes. So, and that wouldn't include school taxes. That would just be the local, government property taxes. So,
okay.
So we're not, it all depends on what area you're talking about, but in some places that would not be an awful lot. And again, it's about a choice between whether, if you have a neighborhood that has a lot of seniors in it and you're noticing that they're all leaving and you're having trouble selling those homes, it gives you some flexibility and some options to try to figure out a way to keep them there. And it gives the seniors some options too. I mean, most seniors would like to stay and age in place in their homes rather than moving out to assisted living or other place where they have to. And we're just trying to give them options. In the meantime, we're also trying to reduce the cost of living to begin with, so it's not a problem. One of the things that we're continuing to investigate is how other states pay for education. The school tax cost really is what is driving up the cost and is really the biggest part of a tax bill. And we believe that in looking at other states' ways of dealing with this, we're going to find some solutions that we're going to be able to bring back to the state Senate and offer up a new way of funding our education program so it's not connected to the property assessment of your home. So it's not connected to the value of your property. It's somehow connected to something about your ability to actually pay the tax, which is what we don't have now. So stay tuned
Back
for...
to that proposal, it's very similar to a reverse mortgage, except you're saying that the purchaser would pay, but reverse mortgage, it comes out of the sale price, so the seller would, in effect, bear the cost.
Yes, but the money would be in an interest-drawing account, so you would
Would be what?
In an interest-drawing account. So you would make money on this deal, and I don't remember what the rate is, but I believe it's a fixed rate that we're proposing. I can get you more information on that. But we believe that the fine details of it actually make it a better deal than a reverse mortgage for both groups.
Should look at some of the criticisms of reverse mortgages. I think this new federal agency has come out with something on reverse mortgages.
Okay.
that ought to be looked at.
Definitely do that. We'll definitely do that. I want to just a couple more things, and I just want to take any questions that you have. I want to introduce, I have Brian Kelly here, who's my Director of Government Operations. He's really my day-to-day liaison with local governments. You should feel free to reach out to him anytime. Our office is located in the town of Poughkeepsie on Route 9, right behind Red Lobster. It is 4 Neptune Drive, and our website is Gibson, GIPSON, .nysenate.gov. So you can find out a lot of information there about us. And I encourage you and also your constituents and my constituents to reach out to me anytime about any issues that you have. You know, this is kind of interesting because I'm in my own town, so I'm your constituent and you're my constituents. It's kind of an interesting dilemma. Of course, when I was a village board member here, I guess that was the case for some of you as well. So. One more thing. We are hosting a Veterans Fair for veterans and their families. And I want your listeners to know that if they're a veteran or they're related to a veteran of any age, of any war, recent or past, this fair is going to be on September 28th at the Fishkill Ramada Inn. It's going to be from 9:30 in the morning until noon, and it's free to all veterans or family members of veterans in Dutchess and Putnam County, which is my district. We're going to have about 60 vendors there that are going to be offering up all types of services to veterans and their families, everything from healthcare to education to banking to job placement. There will be some gyms there offering some discounts, a lot of resources, a lot of discounts, a lot of people that want to really help veterans and their families, and we think it's going to be a very successful event. We're also going to be honoring a lot of veterans within the district, and we're going to be doing a special recognition of our World War II veterans. So it's September 28th, Fishkill Ramada Inn from 9:30 to noon, and it's free to all veterans and their families. So with that said, if you have any questions or comments, recommendations, I'd be happy to entertain any of them. And otherwise, I'll let you get on about your business. And
I'm glad you're working so hard.
well, to get anything done, it's hard work.
One comment. We've had a recent experience where we're going out to buy a very large truck for our highway department. And the state has a contract out where it's buying that same truck, lots of those trucks, at a very favorable price. There is no provision in the state contract that towns and counties can piggyback on the state contract. And as a result, we're paying probably $50,000 or $60,000 more than the state is paying. If you could watch out on appropriations where the state is buying something to put in that the towns and the villages and the counties can piggyback off the state contract price, that would be a good thing to save us money. And Kathy can talk more about that with Brian as to that particular contract by the state.
Okay, we'll be happy to look into that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Do you have anybody that can run point for us with DEC? We do a lot of different things with the DEC, and we find they're very disconnected.
This is true.
And so they can be extremely difficult.
Right.
Is Brian
We have my legislative director, Ross Gould, has a lot of experience working directly with the DEC in his previous job before we hired him. It was one of the reasons we hired him, is because we wanted someone with that kind of knowledge and background. So between him and Brian, I'm sure that we can be of some assistance. I'm not sure what the issue is, but if you're having any issues, we'd be happy to support you. Whether it's writing a letter, making a phone call, or trying to direct you to maybe a person that maybe you're having trouble getting access to. We want to see you succeed at whatever your efforts are, and I'll be happy to help you out if we can. So if you want to send Brian a note, or send me a note just about what you're looking for, we'll help you out.
About this thick?
Right. Okay. That's a big note.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Sure. Anything else? So I just want to say my name one more time because a lot of people think that I'm Congressman Chris Gibson. So I just want to clarify that, that I'm your state senator, Terry Gibson, and my website again is Gibson. That's GIPSON, Gibson. www.nysynod.gov, and I represent Dutchess and Putnam County. And I appreciate the opportunity again to be here, and I encourage you and your constituents to reach out to me anytime.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Terry.
Okay.
Okay, next up, Patricia Wynn, Waterfront Committee.
Hello. Hi. Patricia Wynn, Chair, Rhinecliff Waterfront Committee. I am here tonight to update the board on a grant from the DEC that we have been pursuing for quite some time now. The grant originated in 2008, and it was to do a feasibility study of the Rhinecliff Waterfront Landing. We just finally, recently in June, received the contracts to actually go forward with the grant. Between 2008 and this June, the ball was dropped a little bit, and so it just...
I'm lost. What do you mean, go ahead with the grant? What does that mean? You got the grant?
We have received the contract for the grant from the state.
Oh, okay, so
We
we
haven't
were...
agreed to it yet.
We were awarded a grant,
Correct.
and now they gave us a contract to carry out
To
the
carry
grant.
out the grant,
Okay.
yes. Specifically, the grant is for, as I said, it's a feasibility study only. So there's no work that is done associated with this grant. It is just to do research, design, and planning of future ideas for the grant. Specifically to find traffic and parking solutions for the increased public use of the Rhinecliff Landing and the use of the Hudson River, provide ways to avoid erosion and safeguard against rising river levels and other effects of climate change with regard to the landing, investigate solutions to stabilize the bulkhead, estimate its life expectancy, and/or suggest methods or protection and durability or reconstruction, create ways to increase river access for large vessels, including ferries, tour boats, and education crafts, provide direction in the selection of location, type, and installation of a seasonal floating dock system that would satisfy the needs of a diverse group of day-use boaters and increase access to the landing from the Hudson River, and determine the feasibility of a walkway, boardwalk with floating docks along the northern riprap of the current landing. The grant is a $40,000 grant. It's a 25% match by the town, so $30,000 from the DEC and $10,000 from the town of Rhinebeck. When the grant was originally filed, it was a long time ago. There were different people on the town board. There were different people on the Rhinecliff Waterfront Committee. Our understanding was at the time the town was supportive of finding this matching funds to go along and pursue this grant. So we're here tonight to update you on the grant that we have now received the contracts as of June to move forward if the town is continuing to be supportive of this grant. So that's
I think
what
you
I have.
explained that very well. They reached out to 3 different companies to do this feasibility study. They found one that they're very happy with and would propose that we go with them if we choose to go ahead.
What types of companies?
Waterfront development research
Right,
companies?
we looked for engineering firms that specialize in this type of work. We found a couple in Connecticut. One company called DACO. The senior engineer there came to visit the landing. We met with him a couple of times, and they decided not to submit any sort of proposal to us, that the job was too far away, that they didn't know the local politics of the situation, and they felt it was better off to pass on submitting a bid. The second company, also in Connecticut, Coastline Contracting or Coastline Consulting, again specializes in marine waterfront development, again didn't want to submit a bid for the grant proposal. The third company is based in Poughkeepsie, the LRC, and they were very enthusiastic. We've met with them a couple of times. They have submitted a very detailed proposal for the work, and we had spoken with Gina previously to ask the town board to officially put out a request for proposals so that they could officially submit for the contract bid.
I don't think we got any paperwork on this. I'd love to see the contract that the state sent you and what we have to do if we accept this and what we're really going to get for the $10,000 that we have to pony up.
Right.
So-
John has a copy of
You
that
have it, John,
contract
so you can
that
make
he
us
received in
copies.
June.
Is there a deadline for this?
There is, yes. So the contract actually expires in September, next month.
And we got it in June,
We got it in June,
and it's
right.
August?
Yeah, but
But we can file for an extension with the state, and they are very favorable with filing for the extension since we just received the contracts. And they did also note to me, the grants manager with the DEC, that they look upon it unfavorable if at the point that we receive the contracts to move forward with the grant, that we don't actually use the funds that they've now given us. And that could jeopardize the town's standing with applying for future DEC grants and receiving them.
it
Well, you
seems,
lost me as to what you said. They would look unfavorably
At
if we do
awarding
not
us-
accept the grant?
Right, because at this point, we've applied for the grant, they have awarded it to us, and they're ready to give the town the money for it. If we now do not take the money and move forward and pursue with it, the next time we go to apply for a DEC grant, they will take that into consideration, that the last time they gave us a grant, we did not move forward with it, and they might not choose to allocate us those funds again, and would give them to someone else who would possibly use them.
it seems to me that a lot of the things that would have come from a feasibility study, we've actually gone ahead and done.
My understanding was that in 2008, we actually also have another grant for $28,000 from the DEC. When we received that grant in 2006, I think it was, I guess at the time, the Waterfront Committee, the town began to look into using this money to develop the waterfront. And it was determined at that time that we needed to do more research, and we couldn't just start putting in docks and building, and we really needed to bring in somebody, a marine engineering firm, to really plan and investigate and research what can be done down there, what kind of longevity it will have, what kind of maintenance costs would be associated with it, and what kind of return it would give to the community. And so that's where, in 2008, the board and the Rhinecliff Waterfront Committee turned around and then applied for the feasibility study, because it was determined that with the $28,000 grant we had, we couldn't just start building and developing down at the waterfront.
Yeah, and I was the sacrificial lamb. I had to go to the DEC and
Say no, thank you.
and beg for it to be changed. They explained that it was a competitive thing. It had to go through the controller and la-da-da-da-da-da. And then it somehow spit out of the system last year, I guess it was, and they wanted to know what was going on. Originally, I'm not sure, I think they're double counting maybe, but maybe not. Originally, the town board, when I started looking at this in 2008, they had committed the match. It was in the record someplace, but I haven't done anything with it in 5 years, so I think we,
Where could we take the money from the capital?
yeah, there's 14,000 in the waterfront capital fund right now.
I mean, I think it's just off the top of my head, a good idea. One concern I have is that we didn't maybe, or I don't know if you did, with looking at the Connecticut towns, it's not riparian like our, have we looked at what they've done in, there are some
Beacon.
areas, Beacon, Troy, where they've
Skill.
done, nice things on the Hudson.
Right, and that's why we, as a committee, would like to request for the town to
To
officially
help-
put out a
help.
bid.
Okay. Yeah.
And the LRC, the company that we found based in Poughkeepsie, would be willing to help you write the RFP so that the language is there, so that we would attract the kind of companies that would specialize in this work.
I think we should be prepared to go ahead and approve the RFP.
I think we
Everyone
ought to
okay
see
with
the
that?
documents before we approve anything. This is just the start of a project, it's a feasibility study. You're going to get back something, and then the question is, where are you going to get the money to implement whatever comes back? That's what's given me pause. This is just the start. So I think we really ought to look at this whole thing as to,
But the RFP isn't going to cost us anything, Joe.
you're going through a lot of effort to see if you really want to proceed with this. I don't know till I see the documents. And you say that we can get an extension of time.
Right.
I think we ought to think about maybe that and actually looking at these documents.
My feeling, the grant expires September 19th, is that I personally, as the chair of the Rhinecliff Waterfront Committee, do not want to file for an extension if I don't feel like there's the support from the town, because that's just a waste of the DEC's time. And again, we file for this extension and then we don't move forward with it, the DEC would look at that negatively. So at this time, I would like to file to request for the RFP so that we feel like we are moving in a direction where this could go forward.
But
And I
in
would feel more
fairness
comfortable
to us-
filing for the extension with the DEC.
In fairness to us, we haven't seen any documents. Now, I don't know if you got the stuff from the state in June, and now it's August, or you just got it.
I
But-
actually have not received the contracts. They went to the town of Rhinebeck, and they have been in the hands with the town of Rhinebeck this whole time.
Well, we don't have it. At least the board doesn't have it. So I think we're really entitled to look at the documents before we're asked to vote $10,000 of money that is very tight.
I
course, Joe, but
agree, but
that's
I
down
don't
the
think
road,
that the
and there-
RFP is going to make a difference.
Right. And there have been many times where we've gone out on an RFP without looking at the actual contract before just requesting an RFP. So I don't see that that should preclude.
Well, who's going to draft the RFP and make sure that it complies with the contract? You can't
The
just
company
send out an
that,
RFP.
She
that
told
doesn't-
us
company that we
already,
have
the company
the-
from Poughkeepsie.
Correct.
Agreed to help us at no charge to draft an RFP that could clarify exactly what the contract asks for. So I think it's a win-win at this point. We're not committing to anything.
So Gina, you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go for the RFP.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All
I
those in,
would wait to read the RFP myself, the contract. I think Wayne has a...
I would just question, is it confirmed that the town clerk received grant application in June?
no, he received the contract in June. The grant application was out there for
4
5, 6 years.
I'm just questioning why the board would not be provided that information when the town clerk got it.
Right? Did you get it?
I'll have to look at the file.
Okay.
I don't know where I forwarded it.
there's well, as Bruce had mentioned to Senator Gibson earlier, there's a lot of DEC information and contracts floating around. So, I'm sure that it's in with everything that we have. I've personally been through all of the files here with the contracts with the DEC, and there's a lot of them, so it's probably easy to get confused with other DEC contracts that are out there with the town right now.
And Joe, all we're doing is we're authorizing an RFP to be generated. We haven't issued it, and we can pull an RFP anytime we want. So this is just work. It's not going to cost us a lot.
Well,
And
hopefully
it's
it's not
moving
going to
ahead.
cost us anything.
No, it's not.
That's what they're saying. It's not going to cost us $1.
Well, you got to have somebody else look at it. You're going to have the attorney look at it to
Sure.
make sure it isn't biased.
Well, additionally, the administrational work that is done in pursuing this grant can be used towards the 25% match. So making this RFP, if you were to document the time that John spends on it and the attorney spends looking at it, we can include that as part of the money that the town has put up, their 25% towards the final $10,000 of the grant.
Great.
Okay, any other discussion on it? No. Call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I
Okay,
I would
motion
wait
carries.
for 2 weeks so we can actually read documents.
Thank you.
Patricia, while you're
I think
here.
we have a comment.
And just as a point of order, I write grants for a living. The DEC will take a 90-day extension with a phone call at official level. It's not an issue with extension.
So you're saying there's really no rush, and they're not going to hold it against us if we...
Not an application, it's 5 years old. The system has changed drastically in 5 years. And if indeed we do have a contract and count in the files, they will honor it, but to receive a 90-day extension to solidify the issues, why are you writing an FP, what are the objectives? You need to give this engineering firm some direction. If you're going to put some garbage on the paper, they're going to send you a bill at some point in time. And it just makes sense to make sure you have the exact definition of what you're trying to accomplish. This is a 5-year-old issue. That's a great doc we have in Rhinebeck. A lot of work's been done down there already over the last 4 or 5 years. So to arbitrarily put engineering firms time and dollars doesn't make a lot of sense.
You know, you may know more than I do, but as I remember, the committee had the plan, they had the engineers, they were able to draw out everything they wanted. I think Tony did the drawing. The problem was, when the grant was originally issued, it was for construction. And they looked at the design of the kayak docks or the finger docks they're going to put, and they said they wouldn't hold up in the tides. So,
I went out on a kayak on Sunday morning, it's absolutely gorgeous.
yeah, well,
No, it's
but
not.
this is the construction of the docks floating in the water. That's what the problem was. So that's why it was changed to feasibility, and that's why they've been contacting engineers who are experienced working in the tidal rivers. And I think this is what they've gone through.
And trying to accomplish anything at this time of the summer, I think we may end up very well asking for an extension in spite of this, so, exactly,
Right.
exactly. But while Patricia's here, she had 2 other points that she wanted to bring to the town board. And I don't know if this is under liaison, but they need a sign about,
We have, at many of our meetings, discussed the use of the docks comes up. Commercial use in particular has been a question. Recently, the town received a complaint that Tivoli Sailing, Tony, is that the name? Tivoli Sailing, a for-profit venture, has been using the docks to tie up and practice, and has had children swimming without supervision. And there is a no swimming sign at the dock currently, but it's been an issue. And as a committee, we had discussed that possibly we could request that a sign be put up down at the dock that states that the dock is for not for profit use only. And that if there was somebody in a for-profit venture that wanted to use the dock, they would have to get special permission from the town. And that hopefully that would cut down on instances of that nature.
Is the dock for residents, or is it for use for non-residents? Do we have a policy for dock usage?
My understanding is it's always been just open to the public, residents and non-residents.
Do we have a written policy of what it is? Should we have one?
Yeah, we should have one, but
I like it open to the public. We have no way to check people's IDs to see where they're from. We don't
I
have.
just asked, do we have a policy?
No,
Should we?
not that I know. Not that I've
No,
seen.
have we talked to our insurance company? Do we know that, I agree with all of this, and I think we probably need a policy in place before we,
Well, yeah, we need it, but it is public land. I mean, there's other things that go down there commercially. People do training, right? Athletic training down there.
Yeah, Tony, you can speak more.
There's also a question about the tugboat training at the dock. The question came up as liability, certainly. They're pulling in and out. I've not witnessed it myself, but others have. And regarding Tivoli Sailing, I guess a concern was, I was last year...
The microphone?
Tony Tedesco on the Waterfront Committee. A concern was that they had little children diving off the docks, and last year I challenged them, and they had 2 teenagers monitoring these kids, and the captain was not around. I happen to know the individual. I did not know he would file a complaint, but I'm glad he did. He's a captain.
This is the same company that's
That's
in
right.
a kerfluffle with Tivoli, and they has
You're-
patrons
exactly.
crossing the railroad tracks on a homemade dock.
That's right.
So it's,
So it's a concern, and as I said to the committee, it's probably something either that we have no authority to challenge them, even though I did that day. Something that either the town board should call in authorities if necessary. And I understand last year, this individual did contact the state police who challenged and told them to cease, and they did. But here they are again.
I
Do we
hate
have
to,
signs that say no swimming, no?
yes.
Is it clearly visible?
It
It's up
needs
on
to be
the-
maybe more adamant. I hate to give you more work to do, your committee, you do a great deal. But if you could get us some estimates on what the signage would cost and bring it to us, that's fine.
what are we putting on the sign? We
Well,
don't
I
have a
think that's
policy.
I think that's what we have to, I think there's,
We got to run this by Warren.
Yeah.
I think we
Okay.
need to,
Well, I think you ought to run it by the insurance company first. I thought they had some suggestions on kinds of things we ought to do, but it certainly sounds like a situation that may cost us a lot of money someday if a kid drowns.
Right, but
Elizabeth, if you
Point
want to
was the
talk to the
public,
insurance
Joe.
company, I'll talk to Warren. Okay.
I think we talked about a sign that said if the dock was being used, that they need permission from Rhinebeck to use the dock for somewhat
Commercial.
And I think we can do a sign like that. That would-
Herman wrote a policy a few years ago, right?
We talked about it, but I don't know.
I
if
thought
that-
he did.
We did, I
Yeah.
recall that. That's why I think that's the kind of sign we need.
Okay.
Maybe check with him and get us some various prices and verbiage, and I'll talk to the attorney. Elizabeth will talk to the insurance.
Indeed, you also may need a local law dealing with these issues. So the police have something to enforce.
And then the third thing they wanted us to look into was mowing.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
Request has been made that the hedges along the fence line have gotten overgrown, and the view from the Rhinecliff patio is not so good because of that. So a request has been made. I believe a few years ago, the town had trimmed the hedges down, and the owner of the hotel has asked if we could make a request to again have the town trim down the hedges along the fence at the tracks there. And then additionally, as far as maintenance goes, the benches that are down there were vandalized some time ago with white spray paint, and we're hoping that we could request that the town just do a paint job on those to paint them black again, and possibly put stone or concrete down where the benches are, where your feet go, where it's all rutted out. It could be a safety issue with people tripping in the rut because those benches get so much use, and the dirt is moving away.
Would that be maintenance, Bruce? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a few years ago, we were going to put stone down in front of the benches. And we got prices, and I don't know whatever happened to that. I think the real problem is the washout around the wall. That washes out all the time. Bobby's always filling that in. Excuse me. You know, we paint things and they get vandalized again. So, yeah, we'll do that. Well, what was the timing of the bushes? Because I heard somebody was going to take care of that.
Yeah, I could add a little to that. I can't speak on behalf of the Chapmans, but I know they had made a proposal to have it done. I don't know where that stands, but they would need permission from the town to get their own person in there to do it. And I guess the concern is that if you're really going to trim them down, as we did, I guess 3 years ago, Bruce, you were there, and we had amassed some volunteers and went in there and did it, but we were on the Amtrak property as well. So that was, and then I think the town approved the rental of a lift. I think Bobby
Yeah.
got a lift. So that worked well, but if James wants to do it, then that would be wonderful. And
Do we have, is that a labor issue for us? I mean, isn't that a,
I think we ought to think about that, Elizabeth, and talk about it. Everything presents a labor issue at this point.
Okay,
How
well,
are you making out?
Is that on town property, by the way, those bushes?
I don't know.
It's like on a line, could be on Amtrak.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Tony?
I'm not, the bushes are on there's a fence there, and the bushes are on the west side of the east side.
Yeah, that's our property.
That's our
The-
property.
The
Yeah, I figured.
fence is the line.
Okay, because I know Amtrak had some concern. If I can add one comment on the docks, Bruce had alluded to the previous, I was aware of it, but I wasn't involved in that initial study. My only concern was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but didn't we already file for an extension for that grant?
No.
No, okay, so.
No,
this would be-
we asked for it to be changed, and we thought that they'd rejected our request,
Okay.
and they hadn't, they were working on it.
I remember
They just
her name
didn't
was
tell us.
Shaw, right? The
Right.
woman up there is Shaw?
It's actually two different departments with the DEC.
Okay, because
The
at
grants
one
are with
point,
two
that might have been for the first one.
We don't want to mess with this. We want to go forward with this if we can, because there's other things teeing up behind it, right? Other grants.
okay. Thank you.
How are we making out with the ferry? Is anybody jumping in so that that ferry dock has some use for a ferry?
I'm hoping to I've been in touch with the city of Kingston, they were using that ferry to transport people to the lighthouse, which has been kind of out of commission. So they're trying to get someone too, and I thought we could piggyback on that, even if it's an on-call basis. The dock is being used. I mean, we've
For
got...
kayaks?
No, for medium-sized boats. Kayaks, it's too high for kayaks. But other larger boats come up, which used to use the kayak docks, which are too low for it. So it has been used, and certainly everyone would like to see a ferry, even if it's on call. So that, I'm, again, in contact with the city of Kingston, but
Any idea of who's using it, these larger boats? Are these Rhinebeck residents or people just coming up the river who want to stop and go to the
probably
bathroom
a combination
someplace?
of both, Joe, I would think. You know, and certainly, as I mentioned, and I did speak with them, the sheriff's department is happy to see a dock there. I mean, in the event of an emergency, you'd need all the dock space you can get, and we have it. So why not do that? If you want something from them, they'd be willing to, you know, just for support for the town board. We have a fire station just up the hill, and we have a hospital within 2 miles, and that's important.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Yes, Steve?
To the microphone?
Might as well stay up there because you're almost next.
Yeah.
So just two thoughts I had as you were talking about the dock. One is I just wanted to say, you know, Bruce is right that the landscaping is on the town property, because I remember, I think Phantom Gardener, when they first started with business, did all that planning. And then the second point I was going to make is I don't know if it makes sense to check with the original intent of the Land and Water Conservation Grant Fund when they built the dock, if there was any limitations for use or general provisions. So when you talk about swimming or commercial versus non, I mean, that was back 20 years ago when I was on the board. So just something, if the documentation's available, you might want to think about that.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Okay, that's a nice segue right into,
Yeah.
Am I next or
So
no?
we'll skip the liaison reports for now since Steve's there.
He's up, yeah.
okay, great. So, hello, everyone. My name is Steve Sansola, and I'm actually here in front of the town board representing the Morton Memorial Library and Community House in Rhinecliff, where I serve as president of the library board. And I wanted to sort of inform and update the town board about the direction the library is moving towards. Back in June, I did send an email to the supervisor regarding the intention of the library board to request, through the public vote, an increase in our funding for the library. Now, just to bring...
I'm not sure we ever got that. Did we ever get
Yeah,
that?
you got it.
We did,
Yeah, let me just update the board on that. So I did send correspondence to Supervisor Trout in June, really didn't hear anything, followed up personally with Bruce probably mid-July, asked Bruce to forward that to other members of the board and spoke to a few members of the board as well. And I had been in touch with John probably as early as late May, early June about ways to contact Supervisor Trout. And, you know, due diligence, have an obligation to inform the board about what we're doing. Just to take a step back in time for the benefit of the board and the public here, the Morton Library, just like the Star Library, we are funded by a Community 414 vote. Essentially, in 2006, the town, through the voters on a public vote, agreed to fund the libraries. Morton receives $35,000 a year. Star gets funds in a larger amount. And since 2006, Morton has not had any increase in those funds. We certainly generate funds through some income from our endowment, income from apartment rentals, and we're continually doing fundraising. As the board may know, it's a national and state historic facility, really, I think the only one in the community, and we want to maintain that. Hence, we are in need of additional funding. So we have the opportunity as a library board through the empowerment of the Mid-Hudson Library System through New York State Division of Library, which is part of New York State Ed, that we can go out to the public to present to them an opportunity to increase our funding through a public vote on the November ballot. The process in which that is done is we as a library board, we have to garner votes that are equivalent to 10% of the public vote from the last gubernatorial election, which for us in the town of Rhinebeck would be 295 votes to get a petition to the public in November. We are in the process of doing that. We have an obligation to inform the town board of that and ask for your support as a pass-through agency where it then is sent through the town by certified mail through John as your town clerk to the County Board of Elections. And then it goes up to the public vote, up or down as the case may be. So I'm here to inform you of that, answer any specific questions you may have. We're currently getting signatures for Town of Rhinebeck registered voters to put this forward on the ballot. We're asking for an increase of $42,000 in addition to the current $35,000. Just for a quick analysis on
It
this.
could be every year.
Well, what it is currently we get the $35,000 every year, so this new appropriation, yes, would be a fixed amount every year unless the board decided, and we have no intention going back to the public. You know, to speak to that point, since '06, we've tried to manage that fixed amount going forward, given increased costs and care of the facility. Just a quick point of reference, right now, on a home assessed at $250,000, the $35,000 contribution for a homeowner is just under $6 a year. This increase of the additional $42,000 will be an increase of just about $11 and change, again, based on a home at $250,000. So the potential of a jump from just under $6 to just under $18 to maintain the library.
Steve, we hear that on every appropriation increase.
I'm sure you do. I've been in your seat before.
And when
Just
you add it
this.
together, but I don't really have a position one way or the other. But this would be all taxpayers would pay this, or just people in Rhinecliff?
Town of Rhinebeck.
So everybody.
Correct. And that's currently how the 414 is now.
Okay, and then my concern is, I don't know how you phrased the question for on the ballot, and I would certainly be interested in making sure that the voters know that this is not town board action when their tax bill goes up.
Certainly. Let me read to you the resolution, okay? Shall the annual contribution of the town of Rhinebeck for the operating budget of the Morton Memorial Library and Community House be increased by $42,000 to the sum of $77,000? That's what we are required to put forth as approved by the county. We sent this to them and Mid-Hudson Library System.
Could you send us that in writing so we can look at it
I
and
already
think about
have.
it?
Bruce,
John,
that
you
was,
have it?
that was, if my recollection is correct, included in the email.
You said thanks, and you said
What?
thanks. Yeah, I
Yeah,
sent
it
it to
was
everybody.
circulated.
All that's been sent.
Okay, beats me, I didn't see it.
Okay. Well, I can resend it if need
I'll
be.
send it
We
again.
can forward
Have
it.
it?
Okay, and if there are any questions, you can always reach me at home or place of work. Happy to answer any questions, so.
But just to clarify, I mean, you know, I'm happy to support the library. We don't get to tell you how to phrase your referendum, do we?
No, this is a recommendation by the New York State Library
This is a
Division of
courtesy
Development.
you're coming to
Right,
inform us.
essentially what the law states is I will be submitting to the town board, and by the way, in terms of timing on this, we're obligated to submit the referendum, or the petition, assuming we have enough signatures of valid voters in the town of Rhinebeck, 36 days before the election. And then we also have to post public notice, and we're also in the process of sending out information to the community. My intention is to bring this to the town board, or to John actually, on the September 9th, Monday, town board meeting, all packaged appropriately for submittal by certified mail to the county, to the county board of
The next
election.
town board meeting,
November 9th. I'm sorry, September 9th.
September 9.
Yeah.
Have
That-
there been any discussions with that library with either consolidating or doing some joint activities with the Star Library?
Well, there's always that issue of can you reach some economies of scale? We actually have met a few times as an executive board with a Star Library executive board to determine where we can overlap and work together. We've done some things together. Each library is unique. Each library is also similar. Each library requires staffing, whether they were combined or not. We currently are operating as an independent library, just as Star, and our intention is to maintain that. The Star Library and Community House is a little different. The Morton Memorial Library and Community House is a little different than the Star, whereby we have a community house that offers an enriched opportunity to provide different types of programs and activities for the community. So the short answer is we're not looking to consolidate, and that's based on the way we're operating now through funding through the taxpayers in the town of Rhinebeck.
I'd be interested in knowing how much book circulation there is as opposed to the community house activity, which could carry on even if there was no borrowing function.
We have all that information, and you really don't want to have a library that doesn't offer books. I mean, that's what the business is all about. It's also libraries, most people are realizing today in the last few years, particularly with the issue of the economy downturn, they offer a lot more than books. It's internet access, it could be business incubation, it's services for the children, the elderly. We run the whole gamut. We have the data in terms of, we have an obligation to report our data each year to Mid-Hudson Library System, both programmatically and circulation. And as you know, any library is part of the Mid-Hudson Library System, so you have interloan, you have access to really untold volumes, or periodicals as the case may be.
Thank you.
So
Steve?
I'll be back on the 9th.
Okay.
Thanks. Good luck.
Any other public comment? Okay. Liaison reports. Joe, got anything?
With respect to affordable housing, John Lyons has looked at the draft. He's given some comments, mostly technical things. He hasn't raised any issues that haven't been thought about by the committee. I'll be meeting with individual board members to talk about some aspects, particularly density bonus, and we're getting ready to present it. But the committee has gone over John's comments individually, and as I say, most are technical, and we'll work up a draft to present to the board.
Anything else? No? Gina?
Cemetery, they got their budget worked up pretty much. There are a few things that we're going to have to wrestle to the ground during budget, but more importantly, Gary's truck, he took it in for inspection. It was due for inspection, and it wasn't, shut up, and it wasn't going to pass inspection. So it was going to cost $3,000 to get all the things. So we called Kathy at the highway garage and asked if Roush could look at it, and he was spectacular, as was Kathy. We had to make a decision to go with it right then because he was only going to be free for 2 days before he was booked for another week and a half. So I kind of went ahead and approved it. We don't have the final number, but we know it's going to be way less than $3,000. And in addition, they found other items that needed to be done to preserve the health of the truck. So they saved us in both ways. And I had a long conversation with Gary that he needs to be dropping it off at the highway department to have them look at it periodically. So that's all I've got from that.
I just have a comment about the affordable housing. I know you're going to be meeting with us individually. I'd like to have our land use attorney and our planning board chair meet with the board to discuss any concerns they may have before any final draft.
Sure. I'm not trying to cut off any discussion.
What's the schedule for it, Joe?
Schedule for what?
Passing
Well,
the,
it's like any other local law. It has to be introduced, there has to be a public hearing, and then the board will decide.
okay, so you don't have a target date to finish it?
I would like to get it done before the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay.
My turn?
Yeah.
Our tech initiative is into the county, and they've come back with a bunch of questions, which I think we successfully answered. So we should be hearing about that in another month. I'm also going to work up a cost for us if it's not approved for the town portion only, because I think the controller was pretty adamant about us reforming our ways here, and I think I addressed some of that in the answer to the audit. Web, I have an agenda item later. Do you want me to deal with it now about, we'll come back to that for discussion, but there are a whole bunch of updates and some pages we need to make decisions on whether or not we want to build them for committees that are defunct or not practicing. And I think it's a recommendation that we not build them because it's a savings of time and it can always be added later. Board of Assessment Review needs a new member. We're going to have, I think Ed Tobin is stepping down, but that's a long way off, but still it takes a long time to recruit members to that committee or board for some reasons. I met with the chair of our assessors department and our CERT attorney, Karen Hagstrom, to discuss the structure of that department and whether or not it was something that we wanted to look at, going to one full-time, part-time assessor and abolishing the 3 elected positions. It was a good meeting. We have just begun speaking about it. I think we'll come back to it again, and then the board needs to decide how you'd like to deal with it.
She's doing great, by the way, too,
She's
Elizabeth.
fantastic.
Yeah.
She's fantastic, very responsive. The department's very happy with her, great communicating. She's getting the work done efficiently, cost-effectively. She's a good addition. And Panda, we also need a backup for Bill Nieves. He needs an alternative for the board. So if there's anyone here in the audience who has any experience in film and would maybe like to step forward, that would be great.
Oh, he moved his foot forward.
He raised
That
his
would look like
hand, I
a bid, right?
I'm still in the balance here.
Okay.
Well, think about it. We'd love an alternate, and Bill has been doing a great job, and it's a good group of people.
On the assessors, there was an issue,
Yes, I got a call on vacation.
okay, and supposedly Donna was going to take care of it today, and,
It's a little bit more complicated than that because there are CFOs I believe I have to call Ed Maddock and just see if he's going, it's on my to-do list. I've been following up on it. I'm aware of it.
Okay,
without
thanks.
Going into names and,
yeah, I didn't want to get into it because I don't know anything about
right,
it.
thanks. They seem to be all over it, so.
Okay. Let's see, my stuff, well, camp's over. We survived 6 years of camp. It finally made it. We had lice this year.
There was a rumor about that.
Yeah.
It was we had a few scrapes like we normally do. No 2 years are the same, but it went well. We had more kids than we expected, so something's good, I guess. The weather was very interesting. There's a lot of ideas that the rec director and the camp director have, and you'll see those at budget time. They're working to get some input for that.
And how they can sort of shore it up and get some more labor and,
Yeah.
yeah.
We think they'll continue, or they want to continue, or we don't know yet?
Well, I'm running out of markers, so, you know, I don't know. We'll have to do something on our end. The Beaver Dam, that's still going along. It's keeping up. We have to put the other pipe in after the fall. That's pretty much
The
it.
water level seems to be going down.
It's not down as far as it needs to go, but it's not flooding like it used to. It's not going over the road, but it's still flooding the wells. And it
This other pipe,
should take it down the
schedule when
rest,
that goes in,
that should take it down the rest of the way. So,
when will that happen?
in the fall after the growing season. Don't you read the
Okay.
paper?
What?
It was in the Observer.
In the fall
Front
after the growing.
page.
I don't know, the CAB's keeping me busy. We met with, on the bank, or the credit union today with some of those things. You didn't tell me how busy they are.
You were interested, so I
Yeah,
decided
well.
that you should follow your passion,
Yeah, well,
follow your
I'm,
bliss.
Is this
yes.
the credit union by Williams?
Yeah.
There's some nice mitigation being proposed to the wetlands there, so, no, they're a hardworking bunch.
Okay, that's pretty much it for liaison reports. Business items, resolution approving volunteer application for aging committee. This would be Michelle Feller. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it, but I'd like a discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm the one who kicked it back, not, with a residency question, and it's the same one, it's the same application that we've had. Do we have any further information, or?
Should I call her and see where she lives?
She lives in Tivoli.
Oh, she lives in Tivoli. What do we do about that? I mean, I love her qualifications, I love that she's willing to serve, but do we have a requirement, or don't we?
Some committees do, some don't.
Who's the liaison? Has the liaison
Tom is.
spoke?
Look, why couldn't we do it the same way we did it on the CAB? We had somebody, and I think we called it ex officio or something. I really wouldn't get hung up on residency, on
I'm just looking at a
advisory
consistency of policy, that was my only
committees.
question.
Yeah, no, I'm not,
I'm okay with that.
but we do have, that precedent from the CAB.
Well, that's a statutory board, so it's a little different.
Right, but this should be even looser than that one.
Okay, do you want to modify the,
We could hold it up if we want to
Do we
study
really?
it more.
No, I think
but-
accept her, but maybe have her not be, I don't know, the ex officio, is that,
okay, so we'll modify it to be an ex officio position.
okay.
As modified, all those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Aye. Passed. Let's see, approving abstract 8, V717, V806 for $59,148.84. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion to approve preliminary capital project 2013 abstract for, I don't know what the total is on here.
4498, 75.
Where'd you see that?
This is number
Page, tab
3 in the
3,
tab.
tab 4, tab 3.
I'm on the wrong page, that's why.
There you go. It's right there.
Okay, for whatever Gina said.
4498, 75.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
approving budget transfers and amendments, I'll make the motion. And is there a second?
Second. I just have one little thing to add to this, under the dog repair to the kennels. There might be some electrical work that Bobby wasn't able to do, that Hanson Electric did, that we may have to add something at next meeting to cover that.
Oh, additional, because he was in the vouchers.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay. So we could look to see what that number is.
Well, we could tell you
Or
right
just
now.
say we can,
Yeah, well, presumably Shelley only needs $400 to meet that bill. That's
Right,
why it's
right.
limited. So
Okay.
I'm sure that that's covered.
okay, good. That was my only comment.
342.55.
Great. So we're good on that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? I guess it passes, John. Let's see, I'll make a motion to approving the town hall usage for Dutchess County Local Development Corporation. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
I'm not sure what this is for.
They want to use it for 5 to 10 people on September 6th.
From 9:30 to 10,
Yep.
with sound, amplified sound.
They'll have to bring their own. This is the public hearing for the Health Quest Systems project.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
What
I'm okay with it.
project is this?
Well, I guess we can attend the thing and find out.
Yeah, well, we could, but maybe we know in advance now if Bruce knows what this is. Does anybody know?
I'm not allowed to divulge, I don't know, I have no clue. So,
Aye.
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 All right, let's see. Motion to accepting the bid for the cemetery oil tank. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
Gina, you want to talk to this, or just go for
I'm
it?
thrilled with it. I'm glad
Thrilled with
we're- Yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Okay. Let's see, recreation, approving refund of camp fee for Manco Mitchell. This is, I'll make the motion. Is there a second? It's 2 weeks for the camp summer camp. Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
Okay, there was some medical issue involved with this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those- Okay, motion carries. Motion accepting union arbitration consent award. I make the motion. Is there a second? We've been through this. Are there any questions?
No questions.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion authorizing the acquisition and use of a credit card for postage costs. I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
John, you want to talk to this at all?
We can save $50 a month if we switch to stamps.com for the postage meter.
Does that mean the postage meter is going bye-bye?
Yes, it does. But stamps.com requires us to give them a credit card number to have on file. And we wanted to just do this for a month. We want to keep both things in place for a month. So if we don't like the stamps.com, we'll still have the postage meter.
And have you talked to the people who do a lot of mailing, like the assessor's department? Are they okay with it?
I haven't talked to them about it. I've talked to highway, bookkeeping, and
Probably assessors are our biggest
Yeah.
mailings, right?
I think I'm actually
You,
tax
you think,
collector.
yeah, probably tax
That's me.
collector.
But I'm not going to use that anyway. I'm just going to
Take it to the-
Kingston, right?
Which they could do as well for bulk mailing.
Yes, they could.
That'd be good.
Two things. One, if I could just go back to the consent award, there's a sentence.
Can we finish this one first and then go back?
Okay, let's do that. Look, on this one, I told John that my understanding is he wants to test it for a month, and, which is fine, to see if it's worthwhile. I hate to do another credit card for a month's test.
It's the same account. It's just a card, it would be a new card in my name on the same account with M&T.
Right, no, I
Just need a letter
understand.
to them.
I understand. It's just to monitor credit cards, you know, the fewer that we have, we only have one, you know, for safety, the fewer cards we have. Now, if we're going to go permanently, then maybe we have to do another card. But for a 1 month's test, I guess, why can't we put it on the card in the name of Tom? And Bruce can talk to him that he's not going to be liable for it. The town is for the 1 month test, rather than having another card, credit card floating around.
Did you have that discussion with him at all?
I did not.
So we just pay for MailChimp with the other one, right?
Right.
And people borrow the card from once in a while for expenditures. I've seen some,
Only with the supervisor's express permission.
And he is,
Right.
and that permission has not been granted recently at all.
Oh, is that right?
If someone needs the credit card, they no longer have access to it. You know, it wouldn't really be floating around if it's with the clerk, who's a,
well, but
And
still.
I think also, Joe, if,
And we're going to be getting a new credit card,
but if,
you know, in January 1st,
but
one
if
way
he
or the
likes
other.
it, if
What?
we're happy with the stamps.com, you're going to approve another credit card, I presume.
Right,
Let's just-
if it's necessary, as I say, we are going to have, the credit card's going to change at the beginning of the year. If we can have one card, it's better than having multiple cards. I think that was the controller's recommendation in their standard instructions about credit cards. The fewer that you have floating around, the better off you are. So, I don't know, could we try to convince Tom to do the test? And if we can't, then I guess we have to authorize another card. So maybe we can modify the resolution that we attempt to use our existing card for the test, and if we can't, then we'll have to get another card.
Is everyone else okay with the modification?
no, I'm fine with this as is. I'll go with another card to get it done.
I would go with another card as well, especially when the other one's basically unusable. When you said that we don't have access to it, is it because there's no response, or the response is no, you can't use it?
If you recall, we had a problem making a purchase for a bridge project when we needed a piece from a company that we don't usually normally use as a vendor. And one of the ways that we could have purchased what we needed would have been via the town credit card. And I could not get a response on a release to use the credit card. And then after, the response then was that no, to not use it. So the town had no way to purchase what we needed. We were able to successfully work something out with the vendor eventually. Is this for your bags?
Excuse me.
Your
Yes.
bag? That's correct. But it was, it certainly delayed the purchase. And one more card with the clerk, I think would actually be advantageous, because we do hit a wall.
I agree with that.
So I'm fine with this as is.
Okay,
Can
I'll
we
call.
take a vote, Bruce?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
And I'm abstaining because,
Then it fails.
yeah, I know.
Doesn't pass.
Because I don't understand what the hangup is.
He's abstaining.
Okay, so it
Doesn't pass.
doesn't pass. So you'll speak to Tom and see if we can
Yeah.
use his card.
Okay.
How much do you think it'll be, John?
Well, our postage budget is somewhere around $3,000 or $4,000 a year.
Yeah, but for the month test, how much do you think that would be?
Oh, actually, I think you get a month for free in any event. So you don't pay the fee, so it would just be whatever the postage was. It's a $16, it's a $15.99 a month fee. That's waived, so then it's just whatever, however many
Whatever the
46-cent stamps
Can you use my card? Seems ridiculous.
I might just use my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But John,
John.
my understanding is each day that you take postage, there's a charge on the card, so that presumably there'll be 30, you're probably sending out letters every day, there'll probably be 30 a month.
Okay.
Motion approving the hire of 2 rec lifeguards, Nicholas Signor and Sonny Neville. This is, well, I make the motion.
Second.
This is to fill in for lifeguards that are going back to school. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. Discussion items, response to controller.
This response is due on the 17th. I circulated a draft, part of it, and listed, when do you think we'll get your draft?
She's done. Did you send it to people?
I sent it to you.
I didn't send it to.
Oh, you
okay.
requested it, I sent it to you.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll all get
Yeah,
it.
I've got a copy here, I can put it, I'll copy it after and put it in
Yeah,
your...
I'll send it. I got it on last Monday, a week ago.
Last month?
No,
Last Monday.
Oh,
Last
last
Monday, a week ago.
Before that, I was away last week.
Yeah, no.
The third part of this was the missing funds, potential missing funds. I've got a little more work to do with John and Joan because some things don't quite add up. But it's
You think that'll be done by the 17th?
yeah, it's a brief discussion.
Do you need help?
No. No, they gave me a stack of paper like this that they made me go through. It's always torture. So we're all set on that. I think we're ready to go. Anything else on response? No? Affordable housing law, you already talked about that? You want to do
I've
more?
already talked about it.
Okay. Winter Farmers Market?
I've been approached to feel out the board as to whether we would be amenable to allow the farmers market to have sessions in the town hall every Sunday as opposed to every other Sunday, which is the schedule. I have spoken to individually with a couple of board members. One thought maybe it should be 3 times a month, so at least we keep it open on some Sundays for other people to use. One person thought was fine, let them use it every Sunday. I spoke to the neighbors, and one neighbor indicated her problem was that from time to time the trucks back into her bush. The other immediate Jason member thought it was really nice not to have it every Sunday, that there is a respite of 2 weeks, so he would prefer.
Did you talk to Bob, our maintenance guy?
Yeah, I spoke with Bob Fitzpatrick, and he definitely feels that there is wear and tear on the linoleum, that these chairs are quite heavy to move, and he thinks what's happening is people drag them on the floor. In addition, the boxes coming in, he thinks get dragged also. on the floor. And indeed, if you look at the floor, and we remember back before the start of last season, this floor looked beautiful. It was highly polished, and it really doesn't look the same now. I don't know if the scratches in the floor are just scratches in the stuff they put on top, the wax, where I was told they put 3 coats on, or it's going into the linoleum. I think one of the problems, and I don't know what the cure would be, is that there is no hot water available other than giving access to the town clerk's office, which I personally am very reluctant. I gather there's hot water in that bathroom sink there, but there's no hot water in the sink that's left open. Certainly the maintenance person said if we're inclined to do it, he would like to meet with the people at the farmers market to talk about maintenance. In sum, I think they're doing a pretty good job, but not really a great job. And if we were to go ahead, and maybe even if we keep it on the same schedule, I think we should write into the contract that they give the floor a good waxing after the season at their expense and their direction. So I'm asking the board how we feel about it, what we want to convey back, and I guess I don't have a particular position on it, other than I think we'd be entitled to more money, and we're entitled to better cleaning and a wax job either once or twice during the winter. Now, I don't know, we can, table this and think about it for a couple of weeks.
When does it start after Thanksgiving?
I believe it starts after Thanksgiving.
And it goes
Probably
through
December 1st through
April.
through April. Now, I did ask
Mother's
Joan,
Day is the first.
Open one at the outdoors.
I did ask Joan and John whether we have usage of the town hall on some Sundays. And Joan recollected that in the past, Santa Claus had asked for use on a Sunday, and a vegan society asked and had use on a...
I think we've already granted them permission. They already put in applications. The
No,
Santa
this is
Claus.
not...
Cinder buds.
Yeah, no, the 2 people have. They've reserved their Sundays already.
Oh, okay, for this year?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, I wasn't aware.
I was in the clerk's office when.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I think what, at least they got back to me was...
Personally, I feel like the town hall should be used for public purposes, and I think it's great that they're here. But I think also, if now that we've learned after a year that there is more wear and tear than we thought, we have to charge it appropriately to cover the cost of the wear and tear. But I welcome them here as many Sundays as they can be here. That's just my feeling.
I would love to support them. Can we find another space so that it's not here all the time? Is there anything else in town that would be more appropriate? We've had, I really want to support the farmer's market, but we've had, the bump on, the little incidents we've had, and we've talked about it, and I've talked to Bobby too. Is there a
Rhinecliff
barn?
Flower
Is there another, a fire department, a barn, the highway department where we could rotate it? I mean, I just throw this out, a private barn or
Well, it has to be winterized and warm. That's the whole issue in the winter.
Wayne, what about the upstairs of the firehouse? Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility, but I think it's a problem with their scheduling, with their advertising. They advertise a consistent scenario. If you start changing venues, it's going to be very difficult for them. And it's going to be difficult for a setup scenario. I don't think that's going to work. You're looking for a consistent scenario.
Well, they put up big signs out front, and, we...
Yeah, but still, they have websites, they have radio ads, they have...
That's the only thing I can think of, Elizabeth. We did go round and around with them when they initially came. We suggested down at the rec area, those pavilions, but it wouldn't be indoors. We suggested...
Should we just build a new pavilion? Heated pavilion?
And the fairgrounds jumps out at me.
Right, but again, their objections to the fairgrounds is that it's far out of town and that people want to mingle around town and it's a big walk, so...
Yeah, we proposed that when they came to us
Yeah.
first, too, Wayne.
So again, the firehouse may be the best, but it may not be workable. It sounds
They
like
want every Sunday
every
from,
Sunday.
except for the ones we have reserved already, which we
We've already
couldn't do.
committed.
Well, I haven't raised that with them, obviously, and as I said, one board member suggested every 3 weeks rather than 4 a month. Again, that may have a schedule.
One farmer's market board member or one town board?
No, one of our board members.
I had a problem with exclusive use of it every Sunday,
Yeah.
so.
Well, let's chew on it. I'd like to, ask around.
So why don't we table
Oh.
it for...
Yeah.
Discussion
2 weeks,
items.
Okay.
but-
Okay. All right, 2014 budget.
I put this on just to
Torment us.
keep it moving. I think Shelley is preparing the worksheets for the various departments, and I, for one, are extremely anxious to start on it because it's going to be a very busy fall. So anything we can do to expedite the process so we can get a tentative budget sooner rather than later.
Okay. I sent you, as you know, the 8 years of historical data for each of the different things with all the
100
budget line items.
126 pages.
Right, right.
Beautiful color
But
graphs.
at least my
But here's
my 30-second look at it is that will be valuable once we have our numbers to see how it compares with averages. But until we get our numbers, it's very hard.
I understand what you're saying, Joe, and I think what we've said every year is that people just kind of delta off what they had the year before. So I think if we give them the information, give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to look at how they compare to other towns and think about whether they could go up or down.
Oh,
We're giving them
that
some
we send
information
that
that's
to-
a reference to them.
So you're proposing that we send that around to...
Just the pieces that people need.
Can I schedule some time with you to go over this?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we probably all ought to, because I think what we, there's a morale issue. We've had morale issues. So I think maybe we need a special thing to look at that to see if we do want to send that
That's fine.
around. And, maybe you want to schedule a special meeting, or you want to do it one-on-one. I'm open to either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I looked at the agony we went through year after year with the budget, and a lot of it is, we're guessing, and we're arguing over things that are really
They're
subjective.
I agree.
Yeah, and we're defending entitlements at best, I think. So if we have some point of reference, we still are going to end up defending entitlements, but,
Right.
let's start with something a little more intelligent this year.
Right, and it's certainly a tool. On the other hand, what an average of all, and this is what, averages of all towns in Dutchess County?
No, all Class 2 towns.
All Class 2 towns.
Villages.
In Dutchess County, not the...
Yeah.
Again, it's a tool, but it can't be exclusive because every town...
But right, and we have no tool that we use every year anyway. All we have is data, which is the history, which anybody can print off of they can go onto the controller's website and print
Plus,
anything.
we have, a big restructuring of rec to shore that up and ensure that, we have like a year-round oversight of it to contend with. Plus, we have a potential tech initiative to fund if we don't get the grant. Plus, we have a boiler issue here and some major capital replacement stuff. We, have to finish vetting the 5-year plan for what it's worth and look at it after, with the knowledge of what we know now with the boiler and some other things.
Plus, we should start looking seriously at shared services and consolidation.
We have to do all of the above. Should we try to have a special meeting to look over these sheets before we decide to send these out?
Well, why don't you take the
Take a look
time
at
Okay.
it.
to look at them
Okay, that's
first?
fine. Okay, and then we can get back to you whether we think we need
Yeah,
a meeting.
then we can
or-
schedule something.
Or just one-on-one, or however we want to do it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just so people aren't confused, and it's no fault
Okay, here's
of
the-
anybody, we just got this like a half an hour
Here's
before
the,
the meeting.
and we are going to have a printed, we have a binder for it. It's a
Well,
beauty.
all right, so you're going to authorize, I'll go to UPS or
Yeah, I think
Staples
A
so.
and-
binder for 20, 30 pages?
126, I think.
It's 126 pages?
Bruce has been busy.
all the worksheets, and then there's some charts. So, this is...
Do we have a 3-hole punch, John? Maybe any of us who want a binder could use the 3-hole punch and buy a binder?
I was kidding, but
Oh, okay.
I was commenting on the amount of work that
Oh,
Bruce
okay,
did,
I'm
which
sorry,
is,
my sense of humor is not so
which is,
good.
thank you for doing it, Bruce, and
Okay.
I think it will help us in, not be just throwing darts. It'll help us guide us a little better.
Okay. Next
No
one's
special meeting, okay.
town website, update and decisions, Elizabeth?
Kim is almost done collecting all the data and is going to migrate. We have some committees that aren't active anymore, so it's a recommendation that, I actually haven't talked to Andy Shulkin about this. I was talking, maybe he did weigh in on it, but Kathy's here. Arts and culture, we have no members, they're not active. Do we want to build a page for them or
No.
not? Bruce?
No.
Okay. Town Citizen Budget and Finance Committee is not active, they haven't met. It's a time saver, we can always add pages, we can always
Absolutely.
expand. The Comprehensive Plan Committee has a page, the work is finished. I propose that we move the links of the town code over to the appropriate pages.
Right, should be there.
I'm
Town,
sorry, you're going to move what, the code itself?
there are links to the code on the
Oh.
town Comprehensive Plan Committee, which the work is done. So I'm proposing that we move any active links to the appropriate, the zoning board of, any appropriate other page. I'm looking at consolidating and not building new pages. And I'll check with Andy Shulkin, with the chair of the web committee, before I do this. The Town Energy Task Force, I
Yeah,
believe
that
that's,
still exists, and it...
is there anyone on the,
Yeah, Suzanne Kelly.
No, she-
And we've gotten an intern.
so you want to make the, have you given Kim all of your new information?
No, I have not.
Okay,
I
there's
didn't know
a-
I was supposed to, but I will.
Well,
But yeah, that shouldn't be...
okay, let me just state, everybody's got to give all of their information.
That shouldn't be eliminated.
Okay. The Rhine Cliff Hamlet Advisory Council is inactive, but intact. I'm just going to remove the page until they are active or we charge them with something. And Bruce, the Vandenberg Cove Sewer District Committee, is that still active?
Yep,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Bruce, is this a good time to ask you what's happening and when we're going to get our money?
It's
Or
never a
Elizabeth,
good,
maybe-
it's
maybe
never a good
Elizabeth
time.
wants to finish.
Shelley said that she's mailed in the documentation last week. It's been 2.5 years since the grant was awarded. We're still submitting paperwork. We're still going around on things. With the DEC is very, very interested in getting rid of the money now. They've held it long enough to make their goals or quotas. So they want to get rid of it. EFC has to have a filing by September 15th it's because it converts from the short-term loan to a long-term loan, and so we have to sync up with the amount. Victor had offered to do the paperwork to do that. I sent it to Shelley and copied Victor saying, can you do this in the time frame? And that was last week. I talked to her today and she says she thinks she can do it. So, that's basically where we are.
So the loan will convert from a short-term loan to a long-term loan, and then we pay off the loan when we get the grant?
Yeah, we pay off most of the loan, the grant amount of the loan. There's still going to be money that's owed for 30 years.
And is that the soft cost?
No, this is not soft cost. This is the hard construction costs.
And that money is paid by the sewer district?
Yes. And last year we met with them when we were doing the budget, and they decided that they wanted to pay a little bit more each year to build up a kitty for future replacement and cover things. So that's what they've decided to do. I expect the budget to be the same this year, $1,200, but we haven't crawled through it yet.
$1,200 per homeowner?
Yeah. It's supposed to be $788 on average a year, nationwide.
You want to continue, Elizabeth?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Skid steer, is there a need for a skid steer?
Just
Kathy
every-
said no, I've said no,
Cemetery
Gina
said
said no. So it's no.
Is
But-
someone going to let the mayor know?
I'll email the mayor. That's why I
Okay.
put it on.
I copied him on my response,
Okay.
but I think it's,
It's a no, thank you. Great idea, but we'll
yeah,
rent.
it was a good idea.
Yeah, it was.
Rhinebeck Muse planning,
If they do purchase one, would it be available for a rental as opposed to going to a commercial enterprise?
I'll ask.
Rhinebeck Muse Planning Board, Gellert Klein invoices, is it you, Joe?
Yeah, I had said that I wanted to go through the invoices and with respect to the timing of it. I haven't done it yet,
This is,
Jadine.
I put this on the agenda. I had a question. At the last meeting, you said that maybe we didn't collect escrow.
We didn't.
Our chair of the planning board went through these numbers, and he does not believe it's an escrow issue. He believes, that's why I put it on, that it was Rhinebeck Muse, in the planning approval, there were 2 Article 78s
Right.
filed. He believes these bills are in defense of that and are town expenses, not escrow expenses. So it does not look like we forgot to collect $10,000 in escrow fees. It looks like we incurred $10,000 in 2008 and 2010 with the 2 Article 78s in defending this. So he suggested that we compare the bills, which he did, and speak to Gellert and Klein and confirm that, but it looks like it's a town expense.
Well, this is Michael.
Yes.
Let me meet with him. My understanding, or what they said, was no, that this was not, they excluded.
Who's they?
I think it was Pam who said that they billed separately for that. But let me check and see if this is litigation related or this is really escrow money where we underestimated. I'll get back to the board.
Okay.
And the last thing is that I've signed up for that grant webinar. Have you guys seen it? So I'll report back tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
I
Find out
hope
what's
it's not as
available.
exciting as the one that Gina and I
Have a little
went
nap during that. I figured I'd take the hit this time. There's money out there and we can get it.
to. All right, anything else from the board? Anything else from the public? Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's go home.